Welcome to episode number 27 of the Blitz Take. I am here with Oklahoma State football reporter Kelly Hines, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say about Oklahoma football. So welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So my first question is, what were your initial thoughts on the previous game against Baylor?
Yeah, I thought that was a great win for Oklahoma State to go there and win on the road and kind of put what happened in Arlington in December behind them and just go out there and play really well. I think just more signs of this team coming together at the right time and to be able to do that against a really good opponent like Baylor. I thought that was a really good start to conference play for OSU.
What are your thoughts on going up against Texas Tech this Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good challenge for OSU secondary. Texas Tech obviously throws the ball around a lot, is ranked among the top 5 in the nation in a lot of the passing categories. And that's going to be a different sort of challenge than what the secondary has seen. And this is a secondary that had to replace some really key pieces, really the whole back 7. When you include the linebackers, those were roles that needed to be filled. And I think that those guys who stepped into those roles have done really well. The first game was, it was just some inexperience there and lack of communication and just missed assignments. And then really from there, they've grown a lot. And I think that this team is looking forward to another test to kind of see where they are. That's kind of what it was at Baylor, kind of a way to gauge, where this especially with the defense where things stood. And I think that this will be another opportunity. The corners have played really well. The safeties played exceptionally well last week. So I think that that's going to be the biggest matchup.
What are your thoughts on the TCU game on October 15th?
Oh man, that's going to be a really big game. And another big road game for OSU. I mean, OSU didn't have to leave the state of Oklahoma for the whole month of September and, got some things accomplished in those games. But I think you learn a lot more about your team when you play on the road. And that's going to be a really big game. I'm super interested to see how TCU plays against Kansas and, see how that shakes out in the Big 12 race. But I think it's going to be a big game for both teams. And I think we're going to see a lot of maybe there'll be a lot of matchups that maybe we didn't have circled on the calendar when the schedule came out that will wind up being really big games. And I think that's what makes the Big 12 conference this season so interesting is just some teams have emerged in the early going and I think when everyone expects OU to continue winning and that doesn't happen, then you start looking around the league and thinking, okay, who is going to have an opportunity here to kind of emerge? And I think you're seeing some teams kind of do that already.
So, what are your thoughts on Braden Johnson and Brennan Presley?
On Braden Johnson and Brennan Presley? Oh, man,
yeah.
Those are two really good weapons in this offense. And I think Spencer Sanders has so many more weapons, at his disposal. But Braden is a guy who, he missed almost all of last season with an undisclosed injury and had to spent the season basically away from the team and had to work his way back to get in football shape and did really well during the spring. And I think you're just seeing him, get back to the point where he was before that injury. And man, Brennan Presley is just such a dynamic player, very smart player, and just can be used in a variety of ways. Those guys are just like two pieces of the puzzle. And it's just been interesting to see different guys have big games. But those guys are going to be like two who you can count on. They're very reliable playmakers. And I think Spencer has really enjoyed having that connection with both of them. He also has that, with other guys, John Paul Richardson, Bryson Green has had some really good catches. I think you're just seeing the receivers who maybe they were young last year and kind of forced into action. Now they're a year older and they had really good experience from last season, and that gives you a lot more comfort with your offense when you have so many different guys who can step in and do really good things.
Uh, so my next question is, what are your thoughts on Kansas on matching up against Kansas on the 5th of November?
Yeah, I think that's going to be another really big test. I think what Kansas has been able to do to change the culture in just like a short amount of time. That's what makes them dangerous. Now they have that belief that they can win. They obviously have a really talented quarterback and a lot of talented players, but now that they see that their work is paying off and they've established that culture, and now they're not really afraid to play anyone. When they have that sort of, when a team has an underdog type mentality, that makes them really dangerous because they have nothing to lose. And so their crowd, I mean, their fans have started showing up and getting invested. And I love to see another program in the Big 12 get to that point, where they have success, and they're not just, a team that people can just, overlook. So that's going to be another big game. I think you could just go down the list with the whole schedule. There are so many big time matchups, and I think it just strengthens the Big 12 as a whole when you don't really have any team that you can write off.
So my next question is, what are your thoughts on the safeties?
Yeah, man, I wasn't really sure what to expect with OSU safeties going into the season, just because of what they had to replace. But Jason Taylor II has always been a very veteran, very savvy player back there, and he kind of is leading that group. But Kendall Daniels is a guy who, he's from the Tulsa area, so we knew quite a bit about going into his college career, and he redshirted last season, and he he's playing quite a bit now, and I think he's doing some really good things. He had a safety against Baylor and some big plays, and I think he's kind of coming into his own. I think it was really difficult for him to be patient and wait for more playing time, because he didn't get a ton of that in his first year. But now he's really making an impact, and he's getting to the point that he can be reliable. It's still a work in progress. It's still early in the season, but he's really establishing himself. And that's honestly been enjoyable to see for a guy who came from our backyard.
What are your thoughts on the recruiting process that Oklahoma State went through?
Yeah, I think their Oklahoma State is in such a good position with its football program, and they've really been able to recruit well. They definitely recruit based on their needs, and they're able to develop guys. I think that's the other side of recruiting, that you can get guys on campus, but like, what do you do with them? And trying to maximize them, and they've been able to bring in guys and make them NFL players. Malcolm Rodriguez came in as under recruited and is now making waves as a rookie with the Detroit Lions. So I think Mike Gundy has done a really good job of recruiting in Oklahoma, in Texas, in the region, and maybe not chasing the 5-star guys who may or may not pan out. I think they're focusing on guys who they can make relationships with during their high school career, and then they can bring them in and develop them. And I just feel like they've done a really good job of that, especially in these last few years.
So how many wins do you see Oklahoma State having for the rest of the schedule?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah. How many wins do you see Oklahoma State having the rest of the schedule?
Man, I think there are like a lot of wins that are out there for them. I feel like to be able to win at Baylor, it's still, we don't know how Baylor's going to do the rest of the season, but that definitely makes you feel a little bit better about the schedule. But then you have to play at TCU and at Kansas and at Kansas State. I mean, those are going to be really tough games too. So I feel like a 10-win season is completely out there. I think that's extremely possible, but you still have some things that you have to figure out. and other teams are going to figure out things in the meantime. So I think that it's a little unpredictable at this point, but I would be absolutely shocked if things fell apart at this point. I think that OSU has the talent and the coaching and everything lined up for a 10-win season. I would expect that at this point. I think that pretty much every team in the Big 12 is probably going to stumble at some point. It's just like, if you stumble early, can you recover from that? If you stumble late, have you done enough to that point to be able to withstand a loss? So I think that it's just such a good year for the league, with all of the parity from top to bottom, that even Oklahoma, which is lost in back-to-back weeks, they're still a really good team. They're just going through something right now. So I think it's going to be a wild race the rest of the way.
And my last question is, what are your thoughts on the rest of the conference?
And it is just like crazy to see every week the schedule. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a good game. And like, I love covering college football and covering one team, but you miss a lot of the games that are really good. You're just trying, before or after your game, you're just trying to catch bits and pieces of other games, because that TCU Kansas game, like I would love to be able to watch all of that. Every week there are going to be these really, really good games that are like must watch. And I don't know that we've had that in the past in the Big 12. I think there's been maybe one game a week that you're like, oh yeah, no, I want to see that one. But for there to be like a full lineup of just really appealing games, I feel like that just shows where the Big 12 is. And that's what, makes it a really strong conference. And that's going to be good for, whatever happens with the next round of conference realignment.
It's definitely going to be an exciting run the rest of the season. And thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you.